Hello out there, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to the Hero Whispers. This is Jeannie Marie, your chief Supergirl and founder of Supergirls, which is a platform created to inspire and empower college women to launch from college to life, helping them with the tools they need to navigate, whether it be career clarity, networking, mentorship, time management, personal branding, and money management. We want to help these young women succeed in the real world after they get out of the college bubble. That's why we came into fruition. I love this work. It's so much fun to hear about their futures, and they are the future. So it's amazing to work with them. They have such great stories and inspiration for all of us, and it's a pleasure to be here. And the Hero Whispers, the podcast, allows us to interview some of these women and hear their stories and let them share their voice. And I also, from time to time, bring in amazing people like tonight's guest, Deborah Warner, who is a famous entrepreneur in New York City, who will completely inspire these young women with her story and all of her success. So I had to bring her on because she just is so humble and so beautiful inside and out, and we had to bring her in to share her message. But before we introduce her, I just want to give a little shout out to a program that we're launching called Launch Like a Girl, group coaching program starting in February for any juniors and seniors that need a little extra love on any of those topics we talked about earlier and helping them with the life skills as they go from college to life. So if you know anybody or have any friends or colleagues or whatever that might be interested, please spread the word. I'll be talking more about it online, on social media and stuff like that, but I wanted you to hear first since you are my solid listeners. Okay, enough of that, and now on to the big, bad, bold rose, Deborah Warner, okay? A former artist and lifelong fitness fanatic, Deborah is the creator and visionary behind the very first independent gym dedicated to running, Mile High Run Club, a premier group treadmill training facility with 3 locations. The third New York City Mile High Run Club studio launched December of 2018 on the Upper East Side. So, Deb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeannie. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that I didn't tell them more about Mile High Run Club, okay? So let me finish that. Mile High Run Club boasts a robust outdoor race training program for local endurance races such as the New York City Marathon, New York City and Brooklyn Half, and it's designed for all fitness levels. Beginner programs such as MHRC's Desk to 5K prepares runners for their first 5K, attracting new runners and seasoned competitors alike. Mile High Run Club has developed a loyal following since inception in 2014, serving over 50,000 runners per quarter. Recently, Deborah has shifted gears back to art, her roots, with a unique offering in home decor and a newly launched e-commerce site, The Bold Rose. Thus her name, The Bold Rose. The Bold Rose is making its official debut at New York Now's retail showcase from February 2nd to February 5th in home furnishing and design. Congrats on that amazing accomplishment, by the way. Awesome.
Thank you.
You are just, I think this Mile High Run Club thing is just so phenomenal, and that you came up with the idea and that you made it happen. Let's hear about that. Let's hear about that journey. How did you do that? That's a huge, huge, huge accomplishment that some of us will never see something to the likes of that in New York City, of all places.
So it actually started with a couple different ideas. I knew I wanted to pursue something in running, and I had already been working with runners, and I had a pretty good business independently as a coach. However, I didn't come up with the tread class concept until working through a couple different ideas. But it really started with my passion for running, and I truly wanted to create something for my client base that I was working with as a run coach. So we were spending mornings at the track, and I kind of thought that, this was something that eventually light bulb went off. I was losing customers, or I was losing runners in the park when we had varying run paces in run groups that I was leading. And I thought, wouldn't it be easier if we all trained indoors on a treadmill so no one gets left behind? So that was really the driving, that was really the moment where I had kind of a light bulb moment, and that was the driving motivation, was to kind of create something where runners of different speeds could run in a group together. And I always liked the spin class format, so I thought that translating the spin class format to a run class made a lot of sense. It seemed like a no-brainer.
I mean, I can't believe that something didn't exist already like this, right?
Yes, and actually, quite a few of our investors had that feedback when we started going around, with the offering. They said, I can't believe this doesn't exist already.
I know.
Same thing you said. Yeah.
It is just maybe people tried, but they didn't make it happen like you. So there's something about you that, made it come to life, because you can always have an idea. Ideas are great. They're great. Everybody can have a good idea, but a great idea is actually executing on that.
Right. And the idea I hadn't even found this out until we launched, like maybe 6 months after we launched. The tread class concept wasn't new. Some of the box gyms had done it in their cardio area as early as 2006. So it definitely was not a new idea. They just didn't have a dedicated space for the class, and they didn't play music like a spin class. But not a new idea. But I think it was in the zeitgeist at the time, because there were other run coaches working on a similar idea. And there was another gym that actually launched 6 months after we did. We ended up buying him out, and he works for us now. But it was definitely something that I think, I wasn't the only one thinking about it. But when you have a good idea, I think one should always assume that if it's really a good idea, other people are probably thinking it, right? But how I got it off, your question was what? How I got it started?
How did you make it a reality? Because an idea, when you're an entrepreneur, you have the idea, you have the business plan, but then you have another challenge in that it was a physical, capital-intensive business. So, either you funded it yourself if you had like deep pockets, or you had to get people to believe in the idea and, fund it that way. So how did that all go down for you?
Yes. So we did have to raise money. First, I found partners, and, we kind of created the pitch deck and worked through the model, and my partners had more business experience than I did at the time. So we did end up kind of figuring out what the raise needed to be, and approach investors. But at the time, I think, it wasn't, there was a lot of money flowing into the space and the boutique fitness space. So there were definitely investors out there who are very interested in these types of concepts.
Yeah, I guess that does have a lot to do with it. I mean, you were at the top of the market right when this stuff started coming out, so it was a good time. You were strategic about that.
Yes, timing was great. It was a new category in an already established kind of model that had already been proven, the pay-per-class model within boutique fitness, which was pioneered by, Barry's Bootcamp and SoulCycle, two major brands I'm sure you're familiar with.
Of course. Yeah. So
the model has been proven.
Yeah, the model is proven. So that's a little bit easier it's never easy to raise money, but it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit.
Yeah.
And what was your favorite part about the whole, from the idea inception to getting the partners to pitching to opening, like what part of that was like really lit you up the most?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole thing was really exciting. And I truly believed at the time that I probably never wanted anything more in my life. Like this was something that I wanted so much. And I I was willing to do anything to make this business happen. To be honest, I was working. I didn't leave New York. I probably didn't take an airplane for 3 years. I didn't travel. I just worked and I think that the most exciting thing for me was probably just before we launched, seeing the lighting in the actual studio with the new treadmills and the AstroTurf, and we got the best treadmills, we got this really cool lighting, and it just suddenly became real, and I felt like I was living for the future, and for 3 years living for the future, and then suddenly the future was here and the space was open, and that's what I had been 100% focused on for a very long time. I mean, it ended up being longer. It should have been about 2 years, but we ended up delayed about 6 months because we lost out on a real estate deal. So the launch, from inception to launch was over 2 years. It was, it ended up being more like 3.
And yeah, but I mean, it's like almost like a movie, or people when they develop a script, and sometimes it takes like 5 years to develop the script, and then it's another 5 years to pitch it, and people do it, and they fall through, and then finally the movie's there, it's made, it's like, oh my God, right? It's like that, right? It's almost like entertainment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and it really, it was just so exciting to see, sort of like everything we had kind of envisioned for this, and so many things need to fall into place. Like it ended up being a much bigger project than I could have ever imagined as well.
I mean, yeah, you must have learned a ton. I mean, what do you think some of the biggest lessons that you learned from this whole thing were?
So that is a good question. I would say a couple things. One, to be very conservative in your projections, because you never know what's going to happen with the market. And, I think entrepreneurs tend to be overly zealous, and obviously in order to raise money, the numbers have to look good. But I think, you don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. I think that the other thing I was going to mention regarding lessons are choose your partners carefully. I think it's really important to be on the same page with regards to an exit prior to formalizing any agreements, and these conversations should take place with your co-founders early on. What's your timeline? Is it, do you want to exit the business? Like what, that may not even be the goal. So get in alignment with your co-founder on your business goals and your timeline and what success looks like to you.
I mean, and that's good advice for relationships in general. So if you're getting married, or you have a partner, a significant life partner, these kind of conversations need to happen. And, sometimes you just learn the hard way. Like, oh shit, I didn't, we should have had that conversation before we got married. That, oh, you don't want kids? Oh, I do. That kind of thing. Right.
Exactly. It's the same. So
it's very similar. So those are really